nothing you value more than good health for you, yourself and your family. But you go ahead.
Well, I believe we're starting to get it.
Have patience. No, there's no question about it. I mean, the money makes very little difference after a moderate level. I tell this to college students that I talk to. I mean, they are basically living about the same life I'm living. We eat the same foods. I mean, that I can guarantee you. And there's no important difference in our dress. There's no important difference at all in the car we drive. There's no difference in the television set that we sit there and watch the Super Bowl on or anything. There's really no difference in, they've got air conditioning in summer and I got air conditioning and I got heat in winter. And almost everything, any importance in daily life, you equate out. The one thing I do is I travel a lot better than they do. That jets. So the travel I do a lot easier than they do. Everything else in their life, it just, I'll switch places anytime. It doesn't make any difference. Then you get down to the things of health and who loves you. I mean, that's if you have a minimum level of, you want to have enough so that you eat 3 times a day and you sleep in a reasonable comfortable surroundings and so on. But everybody in this room has that, and yet some of the people, definitely, if you give it, are obviously much more wealthy than others. It's not that they're trying to find it that way. I don't disagree with that definition. I wouldn't find it use the term wealth in describing it. But I certainly call it well-being or something of the sort. Charlie?
Sure, there are a lot of things in life way more important as well. All that said, some people do get confused. But it's health, you can't buy money with it.
Did I ever tell you about Charlie's twin brother that he golfs a lot with? I'll take help anytime.
So,
the important thing, even in your work, is, experience. If you're going to spend 8 hours a day working, the most important thing is how much money you make. It's how you feel during those 8 hours in terms of the people you're interacting with and how interesting what you're doing is and all of that. But I consider myself incredibly lucky in that respect. I can't think of anything I'd rather do, and I can't think of any group of people I'd rather do it with. And you ask me straight away, a very significant percentage of my net worth, either for some extra years or being able to do during those years what I want to do.
You spoke of people being
paid very significant for some extra or being able to do.
That was the secret of how much money. One, my really gets it. We always understood our income and invest food and we live long enough to do it rich. Not very complicated. Now then we get to the part of life which is how do you scramble out of your mistakes without busting too much? And we've done some of that too. You look at Berkshire Hathaway, think of its founding businesses. They doomed the bargain store. They doomed the industrial company. They're doing great, except out of that came Berkshire Hathaway. Now, we handled those events pretty well when we bought into them very cheaply. So the success came from changing our ways and getting into the better businesses. We was able to do things that were better, but we were better than waiting things to be better. So finding things that were easy. By the way, when we bought the Daily Journal, that was easy. What we're doing now, the software is different. But the action is very associated in the fact that these old companies that live so long, they're doing pretty well. They're better than the cash projected. And it's fun to do. The other big secret is that we're good at lifelong learning. Warren is so much better in some ways in his 70s and 80s than he was younger that it's almost awesome. If you keep learning all the time, you have a huge advantage. And we both just like it. And we have a wonderful group of friends. Really like from whom we can learn a lot. Yeah. It's not my nature, when you get little surprises as a result of human nature, to spend much time feeling betrayed. I'm always want to just put my head down and adjust. So I don't allow myself to spend much time, ever.
China has a debt problem 3 times larger than ever. Now, the global financial markets are on the brink of collapse. We are seeing financial bubbles everywhere. Many analysts are calling this the everything bubble, and there's dangers of a pinprick popping these bubbles all around us. Now, China has massive debt, massive financial problems on their hands with Evergrande, which is, of course, China's second largest real estate developer, going bust right now. And many fear this could trigger a domino collapse, just like what happened in 2008 when Lehman Brothers famously went bust and brought down the entire global financial and banking system. China has a much bigger problem than Evergrande on their hands that most are completely ignoring. So in this video, I'm going to explain China's debt problem that's 3 times larger than Evergrande, what their potential outcomes for this are, how and why they got themselves into this problem, how this same situation is forming in the U.S. right now, what we should be watching for as this risk increases, what we should be doing. So let's go. All right, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name is Mark Moss, and I make these videos to change the way you think about money, because almost everything we've learned is wrong. I want to explain something that most people aren't even picking up on, which is the massive problem that China has on their hands, how the United States might find themselves with the same problem. Now, most people are aware of this Evergrande situation, as I brought attention to in the intro, but there is something bigger. But the first thing I want to talk about is infrastructure spending, because this is where the whole problem starts. You might be hearing about the infrastructure spending all the time because good old President Biden here has been talking about trillions of dollars to do that. And it's basically where the government, let's say, steals or takes money. The government cannot give something it has not taken. The government doesn't produce anything. The government redistributes. So the government takes money from you and I and spends it into the economy to build things out. We saw this done massive in the United States under Hoover, or under the Green New Deal. I'm sorry, not the Green New Deal, under the original New Deal. The Green New Deal is the new one that's being planned right now. What happens is it creates a lot of misallocation, meaning they start shoving money into places that don't need it. And when they start shoving all of that money into places that don't need it, it's done because there are poor incentives. They don't, not their money. They don't care about it. They're not trying to make a profit. And so they just need to spend money, and they're just going to shove it in where they want. Now, there's trillions of dollars in U.S. projects that are receiving this money right now, and on the outside, it looks really good. Like, hey, let's get everybody to work. Hey, let's build the infrastructure. Sounds great. But there's massive problems that are lurking down below. So let's go ahead and dig into this. All right, so let's look at China and see what the problem is that they're facing. Now, again, China does the same thing, infrastructure, right? They take all this money to build cities, to build roads, to build bridges, and of course, China has been the wonder story of the world. They've been growing faster than everybody. They're building massive cities all over China. They're bringing people from the farms into the cities. They're building roads and they're building bridges, and it's like the miracle of the century, right? China is developing faster than anybody. They're going to surpass the whole world, right? That's what they want you to think. I mean, we heard about when the pandemic broke out last year, that the Chinese power was able to build a hospital in nearly 10 days. They're so advanced. They have so much money. They're overtaking everybody, maybe. They've been working on building a high-speed rail. We can see here in 2008, there was one little line of this high-speed rail. Here in 2018, they have high-speed rail everywhere. They're so advanced. The United States can't get high-speed rail. In California, they've been trying to get high-speed rail going for decades. They can't get that going. But look at China. In just 10 years, in just 1 decade, they were able to get the whole country. Is China taking over? Let's take a look and see what is going on. Now, let's talk about China's rail specifically. All right, so the high-speed rail system that China's building is their crown jewel. It's the center point of all their development that they're doing. And basically, they want to build things super fast. They're popping up cities left and right, building these bridges, building all these things, which looks super impressive on the outside, right? Because you see the proof of work, you see the buildings, you see the bridges, you see the railways, and so it looks good. Everybody's impressed. China is taking over. But the problem is, there's a massive problem happening if we just peel back the covers, which is what I'm going to do for you right now. All right, and when we peek under the covers, unfortunately, we see a problem that makes Evergrande look like a tiny sideshow. Like I said, there's a problem 3 times bigger. So Evergrande's all in the news. There's something much bigger going on. Now, like I said, from the outside, it looks like a miracle. China is this large country, over 1 billion people, and they have mostly been rural people. They've mostly been in the farms. And China has been bringing all those people from the farms and the cities, so they're building up these massive cities. They're bringing all the farmers into the cities. They're trying to give them all jobs by building roads, building bridges, building railways. And so as they're moving all these people from the very, very rural areas into these cities, and they have to give them all jobs that keep them busy, the problem is that they brought all these people to build the cities. They don't have any cars, no way to get around, and so when they want to go back to see their friends, go back to see their family, of course, when they go back to see their friends and family, they don't have cars, they have to ride the buses. Now, typically, depending on how far they move, this could take days or sometimes even weeks to get through rural sides of China through the bus system. So it doesn't work. So China has a problem on their hands. Now, the key piece here that you'll follow as we go along is unintended consequences. When the governments try to solve problems that the free market doesn't need solved, it creates problems. So when we took all those people and moved them to the city, it created another problem. If it had been done organically, those problems would have been solved along, but I'm jumping ahead. So it takes people on the bus days or even weeks to get around. And so what is China going to do? Let's fix this. Let's build out this high-speed rail system because that can fix it. Now we can easily get people from the farms back to the cities, back and forth. They can see their loved ones, their friends, and everything's going to be okay. Now, in 2008, when the global financial crisis happened, and the whole world was crashing at the same time, well, it didn't affect China as bad, but what China decided to do was to start doubling down. And so at the time, China started to build. They started to really build all these cities, build all these bridges, build all these roads super fast. And what they want to do is they want to keep everybody busy. So in the United States, we saw massive layoffs everywhere. People were out of work and things like that, but not China. They put people back to work, building roads, bridges, things like that. They increased their domestic work because they needed that production. And they basically paid people to work who had lost their jobs and all the farmers. So hey, the farmers, who lost your jobs, don't worry, go build roads, go build bridges, go build the railways. And so during that time, they doubled down on this high-speed rail project. They said, we're going all in, let's build this thing out as fast as we possibly can, because of course, it looks good on the outside. Now, this is a old trick from what we call the Keynesian playbook. Of course, there's two, well, the main school of economic thought is Keynesian from John Maynard Keynes. And basically it means that the basic theory is that the government should spend to offset the depression. So the old Keynesian playbook, the U.S. ran this back in FDR's New Deal. We went to the Great Depression, and we said, hey, let's go spend a bunch of money on big infrastructure. We did. There's a funny joke, and you can see it kind of in this picture right here. And it was actually John Maynard Keynes who made the quote, and he said, if we need to, let's just go bury money under the dirt, and then we'll send people out to just dig up the money out of the dirt. Basically, just keeping the people busy to get the money. Just because we've got to keep the people busy, and that's what you see people here digging. But then there's Milton Friedman, one of my favorite economists, and that's actually on this quote right here. He was in China, and he was touring around the countryside, and he went and he saw people building a canal. And all these people were out there building a canal using shovels by hand, digging this. And he said, what the heck? Like, why don't we get some tractors in here and just clear this out? And they said, well, because we need to keep the people busy working. And they said, well, if that's the case, then why have them use shovels? Just give them screws. You see, that shows the idiocracy of what they're doing. I had my own story when I was in Nicaragua. I got to go down to Mexico, Central America, on surfing. And so, in one place in Nicaragua, I've been going year over year over year over year. And they've been working on this road forever. And there's people there working on it by hand, literally. And I asked the guy that drives me back and forth from the airport, I said, what's going on with this road? Every year I come, it's barely fixed. And why don't they get a tractor and just grade this thing out? He said the exact same thing he did with Milton Friedman, which is, you gotta keep the people busy. So that's what China did, this old Keynesian playbook, let's just keep the people busy. And so, again, back to China, building out this railway, they put millions of people to work But is that what the free market needs? Is that what the free market demanded? And so just in this track alone from Beijing to Shanghai, just that alone, there was 100,000 workers on the actual rail line. That had nothing to do with the amount of people that were actually making the steel, making the parts, driving them back and forth, none of that, just on that rail alone. And so because of this, China kind of stayed out of depression. Everybody had jobs. Everybody had high-paying jobs. It wasn't like other countries where people were working. They seemed they got a high-speed rail for it. So now the whole country's set up with high-speed rail. Seems great, right? Success. We didn't have a depression, and now we have a high-speed rail system, right? Everything's good. Well, no. Right, so the problem is that when you have government projects, you have to, right? These people inside the government